Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sarah Moy. I'm the marketing director here at Modal. We are very excited to talk with the staff at Honda of Superstition Springs. I'm going to let Sean Costa, one of our customer success managers here at Modal, kick us off. Sean, would you like to take it away?
Absolutely. Thank you guys all for joining us today on this Fireside Chat. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out on your busy schedules. Today, we're going to talk with a couple of individuals over at Honda of Superstition Springs out in sunny Arizona. They've been partnered with us for quite some time now, and really excited to talk to them about how e-commerce has been for them and how they've really set themselves up for success. So Honda of Superstition Springs, they've been with Modal since November of 2019, before our markets were really shaken up by a pandemic, right? Since then, they've really adapted to demands from customers and consumers. As you can see from this snapshot, consistency and dedication in e-commerce process is what helped them win and continue to win in this space, and definitely will help others. Without further ado, we have three guests today here from Honda of Super S. We have Mike Rutherford. He's the general manager there. Mike, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, I'm Mike Rutherford with Honda of Superstition Springs, and as you said, yeah, we're an earlier adopter of this program, and feel like it's done a good thing for us.
Awesome. We also have Angelo Arkell and John Sims, who are the internet managers there at your store, handling the day-to-day as main points of contact for your e-commerce individuals, right?
Absolutely.
Indeed. Feel free to talk, guys.
Yeah, this is an open mic session, right?
Yes, this is John. How you doing, guys? I've been here a while. I've been here about a little over 11 years now with Honda. So excited about the program, and look forward to every inquiry coming in, every lead.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's been a good turnaround with having Modal on, running through our sales department here.
Great. We're going to go ahead and transition into what we call our Q&A session. So give a couple of questions here, and either of you three or all three of you guys chime in and give us a little bit of insight.
Sure.
Sure thing.
So what were your goals when starting to use Shop Simple with Honda?
Yeah. Hey, it's Mike. So you probably know this, but we were already a really aggressive online dealership, and I'd say 60 to 67% of our customers at that time when we adopted were coming through the internet already. But we could never make that statement. Hey, Mr. Customer, you don't have to come to the dealership anymore to buy a car, because we didn't really have a way to facilitate that. And so, you guys made it to where we could facilitate that and actually make that statement, legitimately make that statement to the customer that you don't have to come to the dealership, we'll come to you.
Right.
So, guys, you got anything else to add to that?
Oh no, you pretty much hit it spot on. It's been having a Modal has been very, very good for us as far as simplifying the transaction when the customer can do it from the comfort of their own home, have the right vehicle, have all the figures put together, and they come in, cars detailed, they go through the box, and they're done. And I've heard nothing but good things, being able to just from start to finish do this online and then come here and either pick up the vehicle or deliver it at home.
Yeah, basically.
That's great to hear. Yeah.
My expectations are about the same too. Just expect a smoother process from beginning to end, because the customer would have a better understanding of what they're going to be doing, and an easier way to move forward through the transactions all.
Yeah, right. Because beforehand, it's trying to get the customer, on the phone and in the appointments, and getting them to show up at the store, and this really helps facilitate that and make that easier on the customers as well as you guys at the dealership too, right?
Yep.
Right.
That's kind of a good segue into our next question. How do you guys feel about the results so far?
Good.
I think for me it's the frequency of people putting in inquiries and moving forward through it is a little spotty. I think that has to do with probably just it being a new way and a new thing. The customers don't transition to the next step as easily as I think they should or would, right? But
Yeah.
and the questions that they ask, I think I just think it's such a new way for.
I think we lost John. This is Mike. I can add some. John's right. It took some kind of learning how to navigate at the beginning. But that being said, I can say that probably from the first day or two, we actually made a deal. I mean, right away, and actually, I think our first customer was actually delivered at their house. So I mean,
Yeah.
that
We had to deliver it.
that felt good for me because I definitely had some naysayers going, I don't know if you should do that. A lot of my, other dealer friends that own dealerships and are GMs and stuff like that, they're like, that's dumb. Don't do it. And I'm like, nah, we got to do it. We got to get with current times. So,
yeah, I agree. Especially now, I had a gentleman I delivered. Actually, he sent you an email, Mike. Like you said, almost right after we started the program,
right.
And that might even be who you're speaking about. But he loved it. He's originally from back in New Jersey, and him and his family absolutely loved it. And it went exactly the way it should. And now I'll tell you this too: he was used to doing purchases that way. That I think that helped it. I think that helped a lot.
I touched on it a minute ago with bringing legitimacy to online buying, and I really feel like as far as the results go, it has given us what I was looking for, which was a legitimate way to say, hey, you don't have to come to the dealership anymore. We'll do it all for you, and we'll come out there and we'll drop the car off and everything else. So
Right.
we do have quantifiable results, and but like any other car guy, I always think there's more. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and a lot of it is still education, right? I mean, even though that digital retailing, e-commerce has been around for a few years now, but our consumers are still needing to have that educational piece, right? And that's something that I've at least noticed on from my end with you guys is your guys' process in regards to how you handle those types of customers coming through.
Mm-hmm. And it gets the conversation started. So we have a lot of customers that they start out coming through that portal there, looking to buy online, and then it transitions back kind of to the conventional way of making a purchase. They started out looking online, and they still ended up coming to the dealership. So not 100% of our customers, we take the car out to them. Most of them still coming to the dealership.
Yeah. I think they see the tab and they're interested, so they click on it, and then that's kind of where the phishing starts. And then we kind of have to, sometimes we lose contact, and then we reel them back in as far as proceeding with the purchase and having them come to the dealership instead of doing everything at home.
Right. Absolutely.
Thinking about this year and comparing that to the craziness and roller coaster ride of last year, how are you really thinking about success this year and preparing for a really good year?
But let me answer that real quick. But before I kind of wanted to add that, already being involved with this program, we started in November of 19. And then we had, November, December, January, February, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And for us, it was good that we already had this program going because, I mean, especially at the beginning, it was a natural. People were freaked out. They didn't want to come to the dealership. And we had a product to offer when a lot of our competitors did not. So with the pandemic, it really worked out well for us. But moving into 2021, all of our advertising suggests that you don't have to come to the dealership anymore. We can do it all online. And so does all of our follow-up, so all advertising, all follow-up tries to direct people that way. And like I said a minute ago, I'd say the majority of our customers still don't end up letting us take the car to them, but it gets the conversation started.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And as the customer gets more and more educated on the actual nitty gritty on how to buy the vehicle, that they'll become more and more comfortable and they're expecting to have those conversations.
Right.
Absolutely. I don't know if there's a way. Well, let me put it this way. I think they would feel more comfortable and probably be more better served if when they get to that area, whatever their hot button is, they could contact us immediately there to get to the next step, if that makes any sense. So my thought process is this, that somewhere along the line, they get either a feeling that, hey, I'm definitely going to buy a car, or what we would hope is I'm definitely going to buy this car. So, and if they come to the point where they decide, hey, I'm definitely going to buy from this dealership, maybe there should be a way that they could link right to me and say, hey, John, here I am looking at this. I'm going through this and got a question on A, B, C, or D. You know what I mean? I think that would help them in the process, because most of the time when I speak to people, the feedback I'm getting from them directly is, well, I didn't know how this went. And there's always a really good question, which will take them to the next step. But since they're online, they don't actually stop that, hang up, call me, you know what I mean? That kind of situation.
Sure, absolutely. And that's one of the great things about our tool too, is that it lives on your guys' website. And so there's no question on where they're at. They're always going to be, right in where you want them to be, which is looking at your inventory.
Right.
Which is a good segue also into our next question here, which was, what kind of are the best practices that you guys are doing that makes you guys successful when following up with your modal buyers?
Hey, Angelo and John, since you guys are the guys in the trenches, I'm gonna let you lead off on this one.
When we first had
nothing else to say.
When we first had our introductory into Modal, they had set us like our email templates as far as a full order, partial order, so on and so forth. So we started using that, and I wasn't really getting the turnaround I was hoping for. So instead of sending my first initial email, the full order, the partial order, I'm still calling them like I normally would call all my customers, just so they have a voice to refer to, or they know, hey, I can call Angelo, I can ask all these questions, and then we can set up a time and day for me to come in and finish a deal or come in and test drive. So that's been a little bit better for me as far as getting more engaged with the process, is an actual phone call and hearing someone.
I agree. Yeah, I think the first phone call is what I usually concentrate on, getting that out to them right away, because they'll usually have some information that they need or questions they have. And also to just follow up with the email and a Carfax on the vehicle they chose, let them know, hey, it is available. So
Right.
It seems to work out better there if you clarify that, hey, it's available, and call them up to ask them for any questions they have, any follow up they need on something they read and didn't understand or misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. and definitely one of the suggestions that we have on our side from Modal is utilizing a great tool that we have developed, our desk dashboard tool. This tool really helps in building that into the process and being able to utilize that to have a more productive conversation with your customers too.
Definitely.
So, from a management perspective, as far as best practice for me, I think you definitely need to utilize real internet people and not try to pull it off with a salesperson off the floor or something. You need to have somebody that's actually familiar with the internet and understands how it works and how time is of the essence. Because these people sitting there, dialing for dollars on the internet, they want an answer right now, and we need to have people answering them that are used to doing that.
That's a great point that you point out there, Mike. Is it's not that it's this huge new thing, internet leads and things of that nature, but you touch on not just anybody can really kind of just jump in and be successful at that. You kind of have to know how that customer is on their end, on the other side of the computer screen, and how they feel and what they want. We're all consumers on here, right? And so it definitely that's a great way.
Uh-oh.
I think we might have lost Sean's audio again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think continuing what Sean was saying, it really does make a huge difference when there's someone who understands the process and how sort of the mindset of the online buyer and where they're at, right? Because it's very different than your typical internet lead. A lot of times the buyer thinks they feel like they've actually bought the car, and having that follow up, and someone who's going to call them right away and congratulate them on their purchase and answer any final questions they have. That experience is a lot different than what you would get from a typical salesperson who's on the floor, right?
Right.
I think just understanding where the buyer's at when they're buying online and their expectations. I mean, we all know the internet's not new, buying online is not new, but for cars, it is something new that people need education on and may have a lot of questions about. And so having an expert who really understands all the ins and outs, be able to be there and answer those questions when they come up is really critical to helping close that deal.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I think we might have Sean back on the line here.
I think so. Do you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? So we're wrapping it up with our last question here. What advice do you have for any dealers that are wanting to get started into e-commerce this year?
What advice do you have for dealers?
Okay.
Do it.
Have the proper personnel.
Yeah.
And also, it's critical. You have to get involved, or you're missing out. And realize that you still can get your customers by any method. People who go online, that's just one comfort zone. And that may be just one step of it. Don't push going to them. A lot of them still like to come in.
Right. I've got a couple ideas on this one too myself. It's Mike. So first of all, do it. Don't get left behind because your competition is already jumping in.
Yes.
2, have dedicated true internet people. I already mentioned that. 3, you've got to monitor your leads. How are they being answered? And what are the results? And there's got to be strict management involvement. And then 4, it's just kind of something that just comes to mind when I'm talking about things like this, because let's face it, we have to spend money to do programs like this. But as a dealer, just think of all the times that we've all spent money and wasted money doing things like direct mail pieces for $5, $10, $15, $20,000 that we got like no results, or very small results and not very quantifiable results. And that is what really stresses me out. But with this, we can look at it and we can, We can look at the lead and we can track it back to the customer that actually bought a car. And at the, for the return on investment, it just makes all kinds of sense.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome advice.
Thank you very much for that.
I'm actually going to jump in here. It looks like we do have a question from the audience. So Chad from Zimbrick Honda was wondering, he's noticing on his side there's a little bit more engagement in terms of used vehicles and maybe not so much on the new side. Have you guys noticed any differences between the engagement on new versus used?
It's a 50. I mean, to me at least, it's a 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say we sell just as many cars, new to used. I would say it's more balanced one way or the other. It's probably close to 50-50.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Hopefully, Chad, that answers your question. I think there are a lot of different elements that might be affecting that. Like with anything, there's a lot of different moving parts, and so pricing might be one of the pieces. The vehicle information. So if you have a lot of photos or don't have a lot of real photos and just have stock photos, that can also impact the engagement from a buyer perspective as well. So just a couple ideas on things to look at there.
And I would even chime in too, inventory levels, right? And knowing your backyard. If your backyard is huge in buying used vehicles, you'll have more engagement on that side of the business as well.
If you have questions, please do send those in the chat to us, and we'll get those answered. I did want to just go briefly to Mike. You had mentioned, not waiting, right? And I think one of the great things that about your path at Honda of Superstition Springs is that you were one of the early adopters, really, in the program, one of the pilot dealers, and got sort of a head start, sort of a practice run before all the lockdowns happened in March. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what your experience was sort of before and after COVID and how that impacted your traffic through the tool?
Okay, so initially, when we first started back in November of 2019, with the exception of the first couple people, they didn't really want us coming out to the house. In fact, it got to the point all the way through the first of last year to where it would be rare where we would actually go to the house and deliver a car to the house. They almost always ended up coming in. And then as COVID came, we had this tool in place, and we were able to say to customers, hey, okay, I know you're worried, you're afraid that you're going to catch this weird disease, but we have it set up to where you don't have to come here at all. So and that played well to us. We really didn't drop off that much when the COVID hit, and this is one of the reasons.
Yeah, and I think too, like Mike said, through that process, when you start this, you have to realize, and you learn it real quick, but you have to realize, stair-step them through the process, because even though they're used to going online and clicking and shopping for something that might be 30, 40, 50 bucks, 100 bucks, something they buy all the time, this is a vehicle, and they really do get comfortable with you walking them through the process. Their comfort zone isn't there yet for the car, doing it from beginning to end at home.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see that shift happen too. I mean, a car is a big purchase. It's thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of dollars, and not something you just want to click around and then accidentally buy one when you were just trying to see what the experience was, right? So I think that comfort level that you talked about, John, is really important, and like you guys talked a little bit about before, just educating them, being there to walk through the process with them and really make sure that they're as comfortable as possible. It really makes a big difference in every aspect of it, in getting a trade estimate and getting those trade photos uploaded and having F&I products added on to the purchase and all of that. Are there any common questions that you get from customers around the online buying process?
No, for me, it's usually about the same thing. That's probably why I'm speaking to it so much. A lot of my customers just seem to be a little bit paranoid about it yet. They're still, and I do deals from them and get deals done, but I think that's it. Just to walk them through it, because they'll ask things like, "Hey, I just want to make sure it's getting to the right person," things of that nature. But no, nothing alarming. They ask about the process. They ask, the direct questions. Hey, wanted to find out how much it would be. Things like that. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I've noticed as far as the people that are using Modal, like they're a little bit more tech savvy as far as being able to navigate through from A to Z on their own. And then when they do run into that roadblock, they don't have a problem calling and finishing it on their end, and then just coming by to pick the car up. So it's a little, now I wouldn't say a younger group, but I haven't personally dealt with an elderly person through the program on purchasing a vehicle from start to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it gets back to comfort level, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
folks who are more comfortable with that level of technology and they're going to be more confident in being able to do that purchase online. And it does look like we have a question here from Josh as well. I think this is more of a question for our Modal team. So he asked about, what about dealer specific video walkthroughs for the buying process to help increase engagement? And I'll take that question. Actually, we do encourage all of our dealers to build educational materials, whether that's a landing page sort of explaining the process and doing, a screenshot walkthrough of the checkout process, or even a video. We have a lot of dealers who create their own branded videos with their marketing agencies who, walk through the process of, choose your upgrades, value your trade, select your payment, all of that good stuff. So absolutely 100%, I would recommend, building those educational materials and publishing them so that any customer who's interested, even if it's a customer who may not necessarily want to call, maybe they have questions about it, but they just prefer not to call or prefer not to, reach out directly, they'll have that information at their fingertips as they consider the online buying process.
Yeah, and we do have live walk around videos, and it helps a lot. Definitely important.
All right, looks like we have answered all of the questions in the chat. Thank you all for joining us today. Thanks, Sean, for hosting, although the internet wasn't super cooperative.
No, it wasn't. But thank you, guys.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, you too. Thanks again, guys.
Bye-bye.